Here comes my third conflict. So, like I mentioned before, the third conflict was between me and my mom. So, before we jump into my third conflict, a little background on myself. I am an international student from China. Throughout this whole coronavirus pandemic, me and my family are separated. We're still separated. Um, they are in China. My parents are in China. I'm here in the States. As China gradually is getting better and the confirmed cases are reducing every day, here in the States it's getting worse and there are more, confirmed cases. So that's where the conflict arises. So long story short, my parents were, or they still are, my parents are very concerned about my safety here. Just me being here by myself, and they were just very worried about me, and they have been pressuring me to buy a plane tickets back to China. And my response was no. I don't think it's worth it. I think I can take care of myself here. I'm fine. As long as I stay indoor, I'll be fine. So this kind of went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At first, I was okay with it. I understood my parents were just worried about me, and but they kept calling, be like, "Can we buy your ticket? Can we buy your ticket? Please come back. We're all very worried about you." I was like, I have been living here in the States for about 6 years, and I know how to take care of myself. And eventually, their calls, their constant checkup on me became kind of annoying or even disruptive to my daily routine here. That's when we kind of had some arguments. Conversations were heated. I just refused to go back. I was like, I'm fine here. I'm perfectly healthy. You took care of yourself. I am an adult. I can take care of myself. My mom was worried sick. From her perspective, though, it is understandable. Having a child on the other side of the world definitely makes you feel extremely powerless during a pandemic like this. There's literally nothing she could do. She can't give me a hug. She can't check up on me. If anything happens to me, she literally can't do anything. I definitely understand where she was coming from. However, from my perspective, I've been living here in the States by myself for 6 years. Though my parents are, still my main financial support, I've been pretty much doing things my own way for the past 6 years, and I've been fine. I turned out fine. I thought my parents were being overprotective. That's why I got annoyed and our conversation went heated. So one main reason my mom was so worried is that she read from the news that some American people are protesting the lockdown and they refuse to stay home. The protesters wanted their personal freedom. As a Chinese person who had been through this pandemic in China, who had been through the lockdown, she simply couldn't understand it. She was like, well, if we could do here in China, if we could stay indoor for nearly 2 months, why can't you do it? Why are you being such a petty kid? Why are you doing this? To my mom, these people's behaviors are simply not acceptable. That's why she was extremely worried about my situation here. She thought all American people are like that. And I think this is where individualism versus collectivism they come in. So I had a peaceful conversation with my mom. I explained to him the culture difference between Chinese culture and American culture, right? Kind of a classic example here. So I told my mom that under extremely different social structure and government, the American people were raised. They were told that one of their fundamental rights is their freedom. They live for their freedoms. And their freedom shouldn't be limited by the government. The government shouldn't be telling them to stay home and be grounded and not to go anywhere. Even though, as much as I don't agree with their protests, as much as I think we should all contribute to our society, from my perspective, I understood why they would be angry, why they would try to protest this lockdown. And while in China, under a collectivism culture, to people, it's okay to sacrifice your personal freedom for a while and to help the country to go through this rough patch. And I said, Mom, The news only shows a small portion of the American people. The majority of American people are staying home, doing what they're supposed to be doing. And once I told her this, it was easier for her to understand why they're doing this and where are their motivations coming from. Yeah, so this is definitely a classic individualism versus collectivism culture difference here. Um, yeah. So, last section before I wrap up this monologue. So, I have covered three conflicts I went through: the conflict with myself and how I managed stress. Second conflict was between me and my roommate, the conversation we had, and how I was able to use the STLC model to deal with our conflict. The third conflict was between me and my mom, and how I was able to explain the culture difference between American culture and Chinese culture, and how we were able to figure things out. Before we wrap up, I would like to talk about my personal growth from this experience. To reflect on my personal value and growth, I think I have benefited a lot from this unique experience. Transforming frustration to inner peace was definitely not easy. It took me days to find the positivity from being grounded, from the quarantine life, from online classes. But I eventually realized that everyone is going through the same thing. Everyone's going through this together. And making the best out of the situation is the only thing I can do, frankly. And this is a big step for my personal growth. And I think this mindset and this experience I had would definitely be beneficial to my future career and my study as well. I think this experience has made me more resilient. And I think this mindset overall, this mindset I've grown would definitely help my future career as well. So that's it. That's all I have for this monologue. I covered three conflicts and my personal growth from this pandemic, and I hope whomever is watching this video, you're staying healthy as well. And thanks for watching, and thank you for your time.